What? Dude. Fish on.
This is Andy Rowe from rowpaint.com. If you've thought about finishing your garage floor, patio, or business, give us a call. We have dozens of floor coating options to fit a variety of budgets and tastes. From polishing to stone finishes, decorative chips, and more, rowpaint.com is the largest applicator of specialty coatings in the Treasure Valley. Let the official coatings company of the Broncos bring you a 5-star experience and product.
My husband and I are like, we should have done this sooner, and it really changes your garage. Like, it just, like, your garage is just so much cleaner, and it stays so much cleaner. I'm not really sure how that's possible, but it does, and it's literally my favorite room in our house right now. I would definitely recommend Row Paint to my friends, family, and neighbors. The outcome was amazing. The process was amazing. Row Paint was so awesome, and I am highly impressed, and I would use them for other things as well.
Rowpaint.com. Empowering people, pride in painting.
Hey, Forrest here. Nothing like getting paid. And with ICCU's mobile app, I can deposit checks or accept Zelle payments so the money hits my account fast. I just wish there was an app for mowing the rest of these lawns.
We don't need gimmicks like giant checks and mascots to promote this year's football contest because we're giving away even more money than we did last year.
$16 million in guaranteed prizes, to be exact. There's 2 ways to win and no rake.
Players in Circa Millions make 5 picks against the spread each week with quarterly and full season payouts.
Circa Survivor entries select 1 team each week with no point spread. Last the longest to win it all. Visit circasports.com for details.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Today's broadcast is coming from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Canned Cocktails is perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Now, here's 4-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing, Boise State fans? Good morning, good early morning to you. Early start today for Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com. Going to have Jay Tust join us momentarily. Didn't give you much of a heads up. Forgot to put the tweet out this morning. I apologize if you're watching this late because you missed it live. But flying back to St. Louis today. Great trip to see my family and head to Mexico for a few days and been 2 weeks gone from Boise. Excited to get back today, but got to get over to the airport here in St. Louis. And I needed to start early with today's show. Wanted to make sure we gave you a show and wanted to still get that to you today. So early start, but here we are. And if you're watching this late because you missed it, I apologize for not giving you more of a heads up. But going to tackle 2 more questions today. Countdown to camp. We're looking at true freshmen who could make an impact on the team this year. So whatever, everyone's going to talk about Sire Gaines, but any other freshmen that you're interested in, let us know in the ICCU YouTube chat. We will get to that. We're also going to talk about Stacy Collins and his impact on special teams. So again, make sure that if you missed the beginning of the show, and we apologize for that, for the early start here. If you are watching this on tape and you jumped in at 9 and you're rewatching. So Jay Tust joins us for his weekly appearance. And Jay, we're dealing with not great home internet. So Mike Prater had to fill a little, or Johnny had to fill a little yesterday. So if I die out on me, you can just host the rest of the show yourself. But we'll see what we can do here. How we doing? You're muted, Jay. Maybe that's on me. I'll take the blame for that. There you are.
I'm doing okay, bud. How are you today?
Doing good, and I can already tell it doesn't seem like it's lining up perfectly. So once you give your first answer here, I may reset this real quick. But yeah, early start. I know you're juggling some things to jump on early, so I appreciate that. And wanted to make sure after a week off we got a show in today. But then I looked and saw what time I was flying out, and it had to start a little early to make it happen. But here we are, and Boise State football talk going on. We saw the Cayman Islands tournament bracket come out yesterday. Anywhere you want to take it with your opening statement here, Jay?
Yeah, I think with that tournament that maybe you would hope for a few bigger names in there, but there were a couple of NCAA tournament teams, or at least teams that went to the NCAA tournament last year, including Duquesne, who, even won an NCAA tournament game last year. This is going to be a little different maybe than, some of the past early season tournaments Boise State was in, where they faced a number of P4 programs. An opportunity for them to maybe go win one of these tournaments and start to build their NCAA tournament resume for, the spring of 2025, as opposed to, just getting quality games on the schedule, I would say. So either way, it's exciting that the basketball team is back on campus. You see a lot of the new guys, whether it be, X or Instagram or whatever social media platform they use, posting that they're excited to be here. And now the work begins for those guys.
Yeah, and next Wednesday, I believe it is, next Wednesday, we'll kick off season 2 of the Tyson Degenhart Show, and hoping to have a couple of the newcomers join for the first episode there of season 2. But Alvaro Cardenas not on campus yet. He won't be here for a couple of weeks playing in an overseas tournament with Spain. But Dylan Anderson, Javen Buchanan, the freshmen are on campus, and they are getting their 8 minutes or 8 hours a week, I guess, of 8 minutes, 8 hours a week of practice in some individual workouts, some team workouts, and yeah, they're getting rolling on that. Before we go any further, we haven't talked to you in probably about 10 days, Jay. Nate Staley's wanting to know how the arm's doing.
Coming along, man. Coming along. I'm at like my I can flex out to like a 50-degree angle now. So I've been icing. I've been doing what the doctors told me, and I'm working my way there. I gotta go another click to 40 degrees tomorrow. So that's every Thursday for the next month's going to be a big victory for me.
Unreal, man. That's stinks you're dealing with that, but I know you're back on the mend, and crazy to believe. I mean, hopefully you can do a stand-up. I don't know if you already have. I assume you've gone on the air. I haven't been back in a while, but I mean, 3 weeks from today, you got to be ready to go live from Las Vegas for Media Days.
Right. I know. I've been kind of hiding it on air to this point. So yeah, well, it's eventually going to make its debut here in the near future, because I just don't know if I can avoid it. So.
They talk about football players being in football shape. Media. It's not as much. You mic the guys up sometimes, so it's not as bad sometimes. But those of us that have a stick mic or a phone that we're holding for video, those first couple of times, the elbow starts to get a little sore pretty quick. And down there at Media Days, man, the one-on-one with Spencer Danielson and these players, you're going to need to you're going to be using, having to use the offhand there or what? I don't know, but you need to be ready for that, man.
I know. I hear you. I don't know.
Ready to work.
Media Day is coming up obviously soon, so hopefully I am I anticipate I'm going to be fine to make the trip, but hopefully I'm useful enough to get down there. So we'll either way, we're going to have a presence obviously, but it's a busy time and we got to get a lot of content, so I hope I'm useful enough to do that. But how'd you like last year's setup? I don't know if this is the way that you wanted to go. I just kind of hope that I kind of like the more I like the setups of the past a little bit better. It seemed like last year there was just a lot of bodies like trying to get in on any given interview. It was hard to ask like multiple questions in a row.
I wasn't in the TV room, so I don't know how that works. I guess was it TV and print combined?
It was combined last year.
Okay. So yeah, that was in there for part of that. I remember pushing Brady out of the way at times, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's interesting. I'm not going to knock on my sponsor, Circa. I actually thought from like the Radio Row perspective and just the way how close everything was, I thought it was the best Media Days I've been to in 11 years. I mean, I'm still out of. You're talking more of that interview setup, not the host Circa. But I will say, man, I'm still out of breath from the was it MGM or wherever it was a couple of years ago, where our hotel was literally like a mile from the. You had the Luxor, you had the what's the one next to the Where was it at? Mandalay Bay, I guess it was.
Yeah.
And you had to walk literally a mile, and you're in the same boat as I am. I'm rolling 2 trunks of equipment, and every morning at 6 a.m. trying to get down there and get set up, and it was literally a mile, and I'm trying to wear a sport coat, and I'm sweating in nice clothes. I mean, it was ridiculous. The Circa, you get off at the elevator, or you get off the elevator, you get the escalators right there. Mm-hmm. Everything is close by. I thought from an actual like feasibility set up where the lunch was, which is always important, where the stuff is, like the rooms were close by. I thought it was actually the best setup I've been to. The size of the areas there, I think, is perfect. But yes, they did decide to combine TV and print into the same room, and that made things a little bit tougher. And I guess you were plugging into malt boxes, and they had a Mountain West mic there you could use. And I mean, I get it.
The thing that really bugged me, though, is everybody would take the mic up, and they would, they'd be talking.
Yep.
And that it just drove me crazy. It
was hard to see the levels of the audio.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know how they're planning to combat this year. They always do a phenomenal job. Just being a little nitpicky here, but that was one thing that when the guys would continuously pick the mic up and set it down, and I don't know if the connections on the back were that strong or whatever, but the audio wasn't great. And and now that you're on this side of it too, BJ, you understand the premium on that. You can't just transcribe something and just throw it in a newspaper anymore. That stuff is a premium. So
we've come a long way from the first Mountain West Media Days at Mandalay Bay with Bronco Nation News, where me and Jay sat down for an interview with Jeremiah Dickey, where the first 5 minutes the mic wasn't turned on, to now we're going to have 3 cameras down there this year, and we're working our way up. Last year I thought went pretty well, but I do have this will be the first Media Days with the new mixer that we bought, Jay. So we've had the last couple of football shows we did over there at the pregame show where we had Malachi Nelson's dad on and Kent Riddle and some of those guys was great, and so. We're 1-0 with the new mixer, and I think we're going to have better audio this year. It should be better. Hopefully you'll be there. Johnny and Prater are coming down as part of our partnership. And then we announced yesterday Mike Sanford's coming down as well, and he's going to be doing some stuff with BNN and also with Altitude there in Denver. So we're going to get Mike Sanford involved and maybe even get him to do an appearance on KTVB at some point there. You're always looking for content to save up.
Heck yeah. Love what Mike's doing. I love that Mike is living the high life right now. I gotta say, I love how much time he's getting with his family, and they're a fun follow on social media. Give him a follow.
And he's a bigger man than I may be. I'll just say that too, with how the process may have played out in terms of some previous job openings that you guys may be aware of. Some things behind the scenes maybe happened, and I know a lot of folks were looking at Mike Sanford and possibly returning to the blue, and I guess the fact that he's still doing ball talk and still on this, I mean, I think it's safe to say, Jay, that he's probably a stronger person than I am in terms of letting water go under the bridge, so to speak. And so happy that he is sticking around with BNN this year, and him and Johnny are going to be back for ball talk again. Maybe trying to even get a special ball talk down in Las Vegas. Although I'm helping foot the bill for Johnny and Prater to go as part of our partnership, and yet Johnny's wanting me to pay him extra if he does a ball talk show with Sanford down there. Johnny's always looking for the extra buck, Yeah,
just give it to him.
Yeah, maybe so. We'll see. We'll see. We're trying to. I got a new house now, Jay. I had to give myself a raise here. You better be careful here. We're going to be trimming salt. We got to trim some fat here.
Yeah, right. Just go bet on the Mariners, and that'll result in his paycheck.
Wow. By the way, did you see the check swing in the Dodger game last night?
It didn't.
Oh my God! It was about as bad as that Tennessee. It was about as bad as that Tennessee game where they had the check swing and then they had the walk-off last week. But Teoscar Hernandez for the Dodgers in Colorado, check swing, which should have ended the game easily, went around. It was a 9-8 game. First base umpire says no swing. Bud Black gets ejected. They're going crazy, and literally the next pitch, 3-run homer. Literally the next pitch, which would have ended the game, 3-run homer. Dodgers win the game.
I saw the 3-run bomb. It's also really surprising to me how apparently either the NL doesn't know about it or Teoscar's learned how to hit it, but a down and away slider now.
Hold on a second. I said something wrong apparently. What's up, bud?
Not Dodgers, Miami.
No, the Cardinals were playing Miami. I'm talking about the Dodgers and the Rockies. Okay. We watched every second of the card. Nelson has got a love now for officials. My dad's still, working and keeps score old school right there. And when he's watching the games on the road. And so they taught Nelson how to keep score. And he went to Dick's Sporting Goods yesterday and bought him his own scorebook. And he sat there and scored every single pitch of the game. And asked me if we could do it when we get back to Boise. So we're actually flying back today, and it's a day game. So we'll see how the internet works. Maybe he can score the game on the flight somehow. And that'll keep him busy.
I used to do that when I was a kid. That's awesome.
Sorry to cut you off there, but yeah, that was he was talking about the Cardinals played Miami and lost in extra innings last night, but not the Dodger Rockies game. But Mariners, I saw, had a crazy game last week or the week before.
Yeah, they went 6-1 on the homestand. The one game I went to, they lost, so that was fun. But they're red hot for the most part right now. Got a 10-game lead in the AL West. I know the other teams have really struggled this year. I don't care. I'm taking it. 10-game lead.
A-Rod not really doing much.
He's not necessarily having the superstar season that we all kind of anticipated he would have. So, I mean, I will say this, he didn't get off to like the hottest start last year. He's gotten off to a slower start this year than he did last year. The month of August, he was unbelievable. So we'll see if he can make up for some lost ground here in the near future.
All right, no. I'm sure everybody tuned in early here to hear us talk about random baseball games. But let's talk some football. I do want to thank a couple of our sponsors. We got to have an abbreviated show today, as I said, and we got 2 football questions to tackle here. We're going to start with some freshmen. Jay, I know you got your list ready here of some freshmen that can make an impact for the football team. We'll discuss that in just a second. But first, Cutwater Spirits, our studio sponsor, more than 35 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails. You can pick one up at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Spirits, perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Rowpaint.com, our title sponsor. We're going to be having them back out to our new home here to do some interior painting pretty soon. ROEpaint.com, all your painting needs, those concrete coatings. And again, the residential, whether it's touching up the siding, interior, and if it's a commercial, industrial, they can do it all. Rowpaint.com. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. As I mentioned, we're going to resume the Tyson Degenhart Show, hopefully with Dylan Anderson joining us next week on Wednesday. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. And another shout out to Brent Cotter in the home mortgage department out there in Nampa. Brent Cotter, unbelievable. If you're looking for you may not think of Idaho Central Credit Union as your first stop for a home mortgage, but kept getting us the best rate, was floating it down, didn't lock it in until the last possible second when we had the best rate, and just did a tremendous job. So very thankful, appreciative of Brent Cotter and ICCU. All your banking needs, check them out. Idaho Central Credit Union. There's a branch pretty much in every corner, but the easiest online, the eBranch mobile banking at ICCU.com. Speaking of buying a home, selling a home, Matt Bauscher Real Estate got it done for us. And, just really, really impressed. I knew he was number one. The numbers said it, but seeing firsthand Kelly, Sarah, Cade, Matt, the whole crew there, I mean, it goes on and on. Just the firsthand personal attention you get every step of the way, keeping you on top of things and letting you know when things are scheduled. And I was super impressed. So any home, there's no home that, Matt certainly can sell the $5 million one, but he can sell the small one like ours as well. Any size home, they're happy to help you out. BauscherRealEstate.com. And Kelly Ridley, we were working with her mostly, and Matt, and just did a tremendous job. So check them out, BauscherRealEstate.com. You will not be disappointed. All your real estate needs. And speaking of Kelly Ridley, Mark Ridley, Ridley's Family Markets, love the Ridley family. And again, shopridleys.com. Check them out. 14 locations across the state of Idaho. They've got other locations in surrounding states. The Cuno location, frequent that often. So check them out. You can get up to 40% off in the checkout line using that Skip app as well. So check them out online and find a location near you at shopridleys.com. All right, Jay, Sire Gaines obviously is going to get the most of the talk here, and I don't know if we want to start with him or start with the other guys and come back to him. But always a topic, and it's a little different nowadays. I would say the last 4 or 5 years, it's really changed with the number of true freshmen that come in early in January, and that used to really not be a thing, and you didn't know what you had in a guy till the summer, and then the coaches couldn't work with guys, so a lot of times you wouldn't see a player run the ball or throw the ball or catch the ball as a true freshman until the first day of fall camp. And those rules have really changed. Let's hold off on Sire Gaines for just a minute because he's going to get the bulk of the attention. But there's always 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that even on special teams or get a role somewhere. Who do you think are some guys that have a chance here to whether it be an impact or whether just get on the field at all? And I guess it's a little different now with the 4 games too. Most of these guys are going to get out there in some capacity, but who do you see as the top, 2, 3, 4, 5 freshmen here that really have a chance to do something this season?
It's so interesting, BJ, because as you shot me the text last night of what we wanted to talk about on the show today, and kind of going over last year's true freshman that made an impact on this team, it made me kind of realize that, last year's recruiting class was pretty darn talented. Technically, you can throw Prince Strawn in there that played as a true freshman. He was kind of that gray shirt option, but came in, still played technically as a true freshman last year. Ty Benefield burnt his red shirt. Same with, he didn't burn his red shirt necessarily. Played over that 4-game minimum. So he played as a true freshman. You had Chase Martin, Troy Wilkie, and Max Steege. So in total, you had 6 guys that, played significantly as true freshmen last year. Five guys, I guess, that played significantly as true freshmen last year. And if you throw in Breezy Dubar, that's who I'm forgetting, then that's 6, right? So that was a pretty special class. And I think if you look at this year's class, it's really hard to project this early. But, maybe it is only Sire Gaines at this point. I don't exactly know, but he is one, BJ, that we know is going to be a guy that is going to contribute. He will be on that depth chart that, we get prior to the Georgia Southern game. I would fully expect him to contribute. Can Clay Martineau work his way into that equation? A young linebacker. We saw Chase Martin really contribute on special teams last year, so maybe that's a guy that could work his way into the mix. And, I really don't know too much about him, but, there are a couple practices that we showed up at, and Travis Anderson, the safety, made some plays behind the line of scrimmage. But, you look at some of the other positions, like typically offensive linemen, it's going to be really hard for them to play early. Wide receiver, Boise State's so deep at that position right now. I think it's going to be difficult for a true freshman to work his way on the field. So you're going to have to look at that position, that linebacker type that can also make an impact on special teams as a true freshman type of player that can get in and contribute immediately to the Boise State football team, at least in my opinion, BJ.
And that's what I was going to say. I mean, I guess guys always surprise. Somebody will step up and surprise, but other than Gaines, I don't really see a slam dunk guy that you can say is going to play in over the 4 games at this point.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I don't want to push the limit here, put pressure on a kid by bringing his name up, but I just definitely think that Sire Gaines is the one that you can pencil in as the guy to do that. And I'll say this though too, if you look back at this time last year, we probably would have said the same thing about Breezy Dubar and not really been able to project too much with anybody else. I mean, I thought Chase Martin last year, what a fun player to watch on special teams, and now he's going to play a little bit more on defense. And he made a big impact on special teams last year. But on June 19th, if you asked me this question last year, BJ, I don't think I would have brought up Chase Martin's name. And, I don't know if I would have brought up Ty Benefield's name either at that point. So those are guys that got into fall camp and showed coaches, you can't keep us off the field. So who's going to be that guy this year with fall camp, a month and a half away?
And I don't even know if it's necessarily, part of it is, I don't know how, game ready some of these guys are. But part of it is there's not a lot of open
question marks.
Boise State brings a lot of guys back. Even Sire Gaines, they've got Genty and they've got Dubar. For Gaines to put himself in a position where he's going to play, he has to be a really, really, really special player. I don't think in the second, you mentioned O-line, D-line, 2 areas where it's extremely tough. D-line maybe has a little better chance, but O-line, it's very rare. We saw it once or twice in the last couple of years due to COVID and severe injuries where you'd have a 1-game random thing where a guy who am I thinking of that started at New Mexico for a game as a true freshman?
Roger Carrion. That was that New Mexico or was that UTEP?
UTEP, yeah. But you get the occasional one-off, but it is very rare for a true freshman lineman because they just want you to put on 30 pounds and develop more as a player. So that's kind of out. And then you look at some of the other positions, like you said, you don't see anybody cracking the wide receiver rotation. Mm-hmm. You don't see anybody, in the secondary. We were talking yesterday. Safety position, they're going to have a hard enough time getting playing time for all the seniors and returning starters they got, let alone some of the other returning youngsters. I don't see a true freshman probably finding his way there. Maybe at linebacker, there's a little bit of playing time. Mm-hmm. You mentioned Clay Martineau, and that's what Clint wants to see. He says wants to make him make an impact early and help defensively. Kid can cover the whole field. But again, you've got Andrew Simpson, you've got some guys there, Marco Notriani, and then a guy like Jake Ripp has stepped up and shown he deserves to play. So there's not injuries obviously will change things as the season goes on. Now you've got multiple corners, bringing in the 2 transfers from the Pac-12 that, and then you have McCoy and Markel Reed and some of those guys. Canijo is still a backup guy in whether they play him at safety or a corner. So defensively, there's not a lot of openings. And we mentioned O-line's not really an option. Maybe there's an opportunity at tight end for a young guy to jump in there, maybe, but you got Matt Lauder, and then we saw some of the redshirt freshmen that are probably good, like a Matt Wagner type, and then they brought in some transfers there as well. Quarterback, probably not going to happen there. I guess technically I guess Malachi Nelson's a redshirt freshman, I guess, even though he didn't play in the 4 games. But in terms of, Caden Annette, the quarterback they brought in, things would really have to go, nothing against him, but things would really have to go sour for Boise State for him to see time this year. We mentioned running back, receiver. There's just not a lot of openings for guys.
Yeah. I mean, you even look at last year, BJ, because I guess that CJ Tiller would have been the equivalent to a guy like Caleb, and it took the starting quarterback transferring, the backup quarterback, at least at the beginning of the year, getting having a season-ending injury, and then a bowl game where they were really left with the only option between a scholarship true freshman and a walk-on redshirt sophomore in Colt Fulton. And even this year, I feel like Colt Fulton's got to be higher on that depth chart. So it really would take a lot for a true freshman quarterback to work his way into the equation this year. I guess the only other one that I'll say, and just because, again, on June 19th of last year, there's no way that I would have brought him up. Max Steege was international player that came over and made, had a role immediately, and he was physically developed. And you look at Lopez Sanusi, like maybe, I believe I'm saying his last name right. He's a guy that, for a true freshman at 6'3", 295, clearly he's physically advanced too, I would say. So is he a guy that, could be that, make a rotation on that second, third string at some point in time this year? Maybe, I don't know. But I'm pushing the limits of what we know right now with that, because we just haven't seen a lot of him yet.
But the one guy we do know that is expected to make an impact, and again, the fact that they're speaking so highly of him, given what's ahead of him on the depth chart, I think says enough by itself.
Yeah.
But Sire Gaines, the running back, has come in from day one. Physically, he looks the part. He has the size, and we were there at a lot of the spring practices, Jay, and I thought just even in the early going, the camaraderie that it seems like Dubar and Ashton Genty and Sire Gaines already have. There'd be a couple of runs in practice where Sire Gaines would have a huge run, and there's Ashton Genty as the first guy out there on the field, greeting him and taunting the defense. And the three of those guys, I think, do have a chance, to really work well together. And Dubar and Gaines are going to be interesting how they split the carries there and how those guys get those backup reps. But Sire Gaines, what do you make of him and his outlook? And again, fighting an uphill battle for playing time, but the fact that they say he's going to be in the mix certainly shows that he's come in ready to go and has been pretty impressive.
I would just be absolutely shocked if Sire Gaines does not play some type of role on this team. And it's for everything that you just mentioned. There's a nice little camaraderie, it seems like, in that backfield, with Ashton Genty and Breezy Dubar and Sire Gaines. And at least on the roster, Tyler Crow's now listed as a fullback, which I also love the thought of having a presence at that position again and somebody owning that position again. And I mean, if there's ever been a fullback that, in the roster in the last couple of years, Tyler Crow's built for that role, I think, when it comes to his mentality. I would be absolutely shocked, BJ, if Sire Gaines does not play more than 4 games, meaning he won't redshirt this year is what that would mean.
Clint's asking if based on the spring game, Gaines is already ahead of Breezy. I wouldn't say that.
I don't want to go there yet. And if anything, if there is a competition there, it's because it has nothing to do to Breezy's so talented, and he's got a top end speed that once he gets there, I mean, there's few, if any, people on the field that can catch him. I just like the fact that we can talk about Sire Gaines even throwing his name in the discussion to get carries right now. That's a big time compliment. And running back position, man, it is a physical by nature type of spot. So you got to have some guys that are ready to roll at that spot. And I'm not even saying like, somebody's going to miss a game, but there's times where they might miss a couple series or something like that. And you don't need 2, you don't need 3, you probably need 4. And Boise State really is in that position right now, I believe, at that spot.
Somebody asked about Franklin Johnson. He's a redshirt freshman this year. He did have a pretty impressive spring. I was there one of the practices. He had a really nice pick. But he certainly seems like a guy, Jay, after this season, when you lose some of the guys you're losing, that he'll have a chance to play a big role maybe in 2025.
I just think it's encouraging that it seems like Boise State's getting back to that point where they have enough depth where they can kind of continue to develop guys behind the scenes. And that wide receiver position right now is just – it's got a lot of upperclassmen that you can anticipate are going to be productive for the Boise State football team. So not saying he can't do anything this year by any means, but in order for his role to expand, it might be another year. That's just my opinion. From what we've seen, all of this can change in a hurry once fall camp starts.
What's our short list then to wrap this question up? We got Gaines, Clay Martineau, and then anybody else?
I'd almost even just limit it to Gaines because that's just what we know at this point in time. Anything beyond that, it's just
What's the lowest? What's the lowest? And maybe the rule's different when you couldn't play the 4 games. It changed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what the lowest number of true freshmen they've used in the season. Because remember last year they were touting they were one of the youngest. Andy Avalos loved to tout that midway through the season. They were one of the younger defenses of playing true freshmen in every game. I wonder what if you go the other way in terms of Boise State hasn't played very many. Because you're right.
We got a month and a half to look that up. You're right though. That was one thing. I think it was honestly either the last or second to last press conference before they decided on a change in leadership over there at Boise State. Andy did bring that up that they were I think especially on defense too, one of the younger units in all of college football.
Well, yeah, that'll be curious. We'll have to see. But Gaines going to be special. We'll see who else steps up. All right, and we got to tackle 2 questions today as we try to get back on track for our top 25 questions. I wanted to ask you about the backup nose tackle, Jay, for question number 10. I told Johnny that you were wanting part of his paycheck for agreeing to switch days with them, but you did have one request. You wanted at least somewhat topic that was. And when I looked and I saw 5 true freshmen was on the list, I was like, that's kind of maybe that's not what he was wanting to talk about. But I said, well,
whatever. Me.
I said let's add a second question in there and maybe Stacy Collins is easy to talk about and Phil.
I think so.
So we'll talk special teams in just a second. I do want to thank Lithia Ford of Boise, LithiaFordBoise.com. Check them out. You looking to buy a vehicle? Look no further. Lithia Ford Boise. You can go online, view the full inventory, and do your research and find a couple you like we did. You go in, you pick the 2 you test drive, and it's a much easier, more efficient process. And again, we're perfectly happy. Love our F-150, and again, appreciate our friends out at Lithia Ford of Boise for their help and support of Bronco Nation News. You looking for a job? How about Taco Bell? Taco Bell is hiring the freestanding Treasure Valley Taco Bell stores. Nicolason Family, SON Management, we appreciate their support. TacoBellWorks.com. Check them out. And again, free food while you work, and you get half your wages the next day after your shift. Can't beat that. So check them out online, TacoBellWorks.com. And again, great food. My kids love the cheesy roll-ups. I'm sure Jay's taking the kiddos to get some cheesy roll-ups at Taco Bell a time or two. $1 each. You can feed the kiddos for $5. I mean, it's great. So check it out. TacoBellWorks.com. The Blue and Orange Store, Travis Hawks, we appreciate him. Mike Prater and I will be out there, I believe, on July 1st. The Blue and Orange Store.com. We're going to be out at Capitol 11 building talking with Travis Hawks. And so check them out, the Blue and Orange Store.com. All your Boise State apparel, gear. I'm sure they'll have the new jerseys, Jay, when they come in out there at the Blue and Orange Store.com. All your Boise State gear. And again, the Blue and Orange Store.com. Free shipping online. Any order over $40, you can just go to the Boise Town Square Mall there, second floor next to Perimage, and check it out in person. Jay, I told the story yesterday. I was in Mexico with my wife where, you meet people at the pool bar there. You're randomly talking, having a good time. And I met a gentleman named Warren from Oklahoma City, and he's a truck driver. And he had been through Idaho in the past and knew all about, Boise and Coeur d'Alene and stuff. Now he's kind of focused in the Midwest. But I told him randomly, hey, we got a company we use as a sponsor of mine, and he uses Transportation Compliance Service. So he knew the company right away, and he raved about the customer experience and how easy it is. So Transportation Compliance Service, if you're in the trucking industry, if you want to get into the trucking industry, they kind of handle your portfolio and all your permits and all your paperwork and registrations and things you need to get out there on the open road or to stay out there on the open road. So let the professionals take care of it. Over 75% of folks that try to do it themselves end up going out of business or facing some fines. So transcomservice.com. Check them out, transcomservice.com. It's a Meridian, Boise, based business, but they help folks all over the country. So check them out at transcomservice.com. And Lean Feast. Can't wait to get back and start eating healthy again. You can probably see it in my cheeks, Jay. Ate a little too much on the Mexican vacation. The all-inclusive gets you, man. I ate more of the buffet breakfast than I think I usually do in a whole day.
Good for you.
Not when I got on the scale, I'll tell you that. But leanfeastmeridian.com. Check them out. Healthy eating. Highly recommend it. And again, now you have no excuse because they deliver. They deliver anywhere in the Treasure Valley, so you have no excuse to not eat healthy. Check them out, leanfeastmeridian.com, and I cannot wait to get back and start eating healthy there, Jay. We got about 5-6 minutes left, Jay. I want to talk about our next question, which I think is number 8. What's today, Wednesday? We got 7, 6, and then a full week next week. So question number 8, the special teams. Now, again, James Ferguson Reynolds, amazing, led the nation in punting. At kicking, Jonah Dalmas, right up there as one of the top kickers in America. But overall, there were some areas that needed some improvement on special teams. In the return game specifically, didn't really try to return many punts, didn't have great success kick returns. I believe, Jay, it was the first year in a while where they didn't have a blocked kick for a touchdown or a return touchdown. No touchdowns on special teams. I want to say that goes back to the 90s. It's been a long time. Stacy Collins coming in saying he's going to be aggressive. They got all the logos, all the players are sporting, they're making it kind of a prideful thing to be a part of the special teams unit and the SWAT unit. Just your take on Stacy Collins, getting him back from Penn State, and specifically with special teams. I guess the question is bluntly, how big of an impact will Stacy Collins make on special teams?
I think it's going to be a tremendous impact, and I think this is something that one of the more exciting parts of the Boise State football team going into the 2024 season. You look at what they have when it comes to their kickers, Jonah Dalmas and James Ferguson Reynolds, might be the best 1-2 combo, kicker punter combo in the country. And I really feel confident that they are, but I'm sure some other fan base out there can argue that, there's another duo in that discussion. I'm just excited to see if they return kicks this year, BJ, because for the last year or two, they haven't. And, part of that might be strategy. Also, another part of that is availability, because they've been banged up at that position one way or the other. But how can they kind of create those game-changing plays on kickoff return and punt return? And I'm not even talking about taking one back to the house, but can they get a return every now and then that all of a sudden, takes it out up over the 45, 50-yard line and really starts to, or really gives momentum to Boise State's offense and, gets the fans on their feet? Can they kind of just get back to that? Because, again, it's not necessarily a lack of success in the return game. It's the lack of returns at all over the last year or two, specifically last year.
Scared you there. You thought I was gone.
Kind of just for a second. Deked me out.
If you want to know the honest, I was putting on my shoe. I took my shower and then came down here and started the show. And I was, luckily we're only going waist up here, I guess. But we're heading to the airport here in about 5 minutes. By the way, my son Nelson got picked up for a 8U team for a tournament this weekend. So
let's go.
3 games Thursday, 3 games Friday between the two boys, and then Saturday, hopefully some semifinal and championship games. But we're in full swing this weekend out at the Caldwell Light the Night tournament for the Rains family. You're going to see us out there,
man.
Pretty much. You're not far from that, man. You're doing the gymnastics and all that, but you're going to have the youth sports here going pretty soon.
I will. Hoping time slows down, because gosh, does it seem to go fast these days.
It does. James Succi, again, I got off topic there. Apologize. First of all, he's asking about Lean Feast. Do they deliver their own, or is it a fee via food delivery service? I think it's a delivery service, but I don't think they charge you. I think it's free. If not, it's a very affordable thing, but it's I would not let that deter you from I would highly recommend, I would call or go in there for your first order and tell them you heard about it on BNN, and they'll probably waive the delivery or hook you up with a great deal. But James, definitely go check them out. Tell them you heard about it on BNN. But he also says, half jokingly, I think, wouldn't surprise me if JFR has more throws than punts, Jay.
Hey, I love the back and forth that James Ferguson Reynolds has with any offensive player, namely or usually Ashton Genty on Twitter, when Ashton gets on some other list as an All-American or a preseason All-Conference or high draft pick, and James just says, hey, if you ever need a rest on the sideline, I'll come in and kick a ball for you. So I love that. That's funny. I'm still going to predict more punts, but I like where your head's at, James.
What do you? I know we joke about it. I mean, and no, we're not trying to anoint these guys as, oh, they can't get any better, they're already perfect. Certainly, James Ferguson Reynolds is hoping to build and be even better this year, and Jonah Dalmas looking to build and be even better this year. I know Tyler Ross is working a little bit more specifically with those guys, but what do you think a guy like Stacy Collins can come in and do to try to help those guys as well? And don't forget, I mean, you know this, but for fans, actually Stacy Collins was the one that recruited and was involved in getting JFR. And then literally, I think the day that JFR got on a plane to fly to Boise in December, late December, early January, whenever it was, his freshman year, is when Stacy Collins left for Penn State. So a little reconnection. He saw something in him, and now he's back to work with him again.
Yeah. I'm really excited about those guys. And you said it's okay. Yeah, they're not perfect, but if you also kind of know their character and personality, I fully expect both of those guys to take their game to another level this year. I mean, Jonah specifically, I know he's a really, really competitive dude, and sometimes kickers aren't really known for that. But I promise you that he is, and he is finding ways to work on the finest points of his game so that he can be even better, and maybe the greatest ever in program history and even NCAA history for that matter as a kicker. I think that it's the whole mindset with Stacy Collins, and it feels like he is trying to make, actually have weapons on special teams right now. And so whether that be a kicker that has the confidence to go out and boot one through the uprights from 55, or a punter that's confident enough to just, pin somebody inside the 5, or a punt returner that says, you know what, I got a sliver of daylight here, I'm going to try to make something out of it. And all of a sudden he slips one tackle and, goes for 30 yards. I think it's more than anything, it's not necessarily just the ability that Stacy Collins is working with. It is the mindset that he's going to approach special teams with, and that's what has me excited.
James, appreciate you plugging all the sponsors here today. My kids would eat at least 5 cheesy roll-ups each until they're full. Well, guess what? That's like $5, and it's still better, cheaper dinner than you're going to get anywhere else. So I love the cheesy roll-ups, man. They are pretty good, though, Jay. I don't know if you've had any yourself lately, but perfect Friday night. We had flag football on Fridays, and the Taco Bell was right by the field where the flag football was, and we went there several times probably to before, and sometimes we went one time before and after. I told my kid if we got a touchdown, we'd go back to get Taco Bell, and we had to do it twice in one day, so that maybe I set a record there. But yeah, love Taco Bell. Appreciate the Nicolason family for their support of BNN. Jay, thank you for jumping on early. The St. Louis airport is not exactly the Boise airport. You can't get there 10 minutes before your flight, and I'm already cutting it a little closer than I'd like to begin with. So the car is loaded. My family's waiting for me to jump in and head to the airport, but we will be back in Boise. We'll be back tomorrow. Mike Prater returns from his vacation. We'll be live tomorrow with continuing our countdown, but continued success for your arm there and the sick kiddo. And Friday.
It's impossible for a kid not to get sick on an airplane, by the way, these days. So good luck to you. Give Mama and Papa Raines a big hug.
I know.
Tell them I said hi.
We're coming back in a couple of weeks, so believe it or not, Jay, I know you're old. I believe you're a little bit older than me, but it's close. But I got my 20-year reunion coming up.
Okay.
So I'm actually coming back in about 3 weeks for a long weekend for my reunion after media days. And so it worked out nicely there. So I will. This is a short goodbye. We'll be back in a couple weeks for a couple days again, and before we head back to really kick things into gear with football season here. By the way, someone shouting out Caden Dudley, expecting him to have a big year on special teams as well. Alexander Lambert, hi all. Hey Alexander, sorry we joined late. We're actually ending now if you just joined us, but you can go back and rewatch the first 30 minutes earlier as soon as we're done here. So Jay, appreciate it.
Yep.
Everybody appreciate it. Go support the sponsors. Go and again, 3 weeks from right now, Jay, we're hopefully doing this together down there at Circa at Media Days. It's crazy. It's 3 weeks away, and it always goes by fast, and they moved it up a week this year too, which makes it even crazier. But looking forward 3 weeks from today to being down at Circa in Las Vegas for Media Days. So have a great rest of your day. Heading back to Boise. We'll be live tomorrow morning with Mike Prater at 9 a.m. and continue our countdown. We're now into the final 8 questions. We'll finish it up next Friday with number 1. What do you think's number 1, Jay? Any guesses? We've seen the list. You'll be doing it with me next Friday.
Am I allowed to just? I'm just going to speculate. Is Ashton Genty going to win the freaking Heisman Trophy this year?
You know what? That is in the top 3. But I actually, I think that you also have that. You have the who's going to start at quarterback. Is a big question for this team. You have can this team make the CFP and actually be like a legit make history and legit enter the playoff? I mean, that's a good one. The top 5 is you could go in a lot of different ways. And the top 5, once we get to 5 next week, I think it's like going to just be an awesome week next week. Discussing some serious topics. We've stretched it a little bit, when you're starting at 25 to get, but once you get to the top 5 here, I think this year in particular, whether it's Genty's success and draft, how high you can go in the draft. And, the quarterback situation, I think Ahmed Hassanin is a chance to become a budding star. And I know we're going to talk about him at some point. By the way, Jay, I don't know if I'll go ahead and announce this and say it real quick before we get off. I do a lot of stuff for Lindy's magazine, and I've been doing the Big 12 stories and stuff for basketball. I have added the Mountain West to my list this year, and is kind of a twofer here. And for our BNN audience, we're going to be getting a lot of the coaches for basketball on BNN over the next couple of weeks, and I'll be using those interviews for my Lindy stories, but also so we can do some interviews here on BNN. So Brian Dutcher, Steve Alford, Nico Medved, Richard Patino, all in the next 2 weeks scheduled to join us on BNN as we hopefully some of those days will overlap with you there.
Outside of that, man, it's going to be a little bit of a meet and greet for the most part, right? Like,
we have Coach Calhoun. What day am I recording with Coach Calhoun? I believe it's Tuesday. I'm recording with Coach Calhoun over at Utah State. Yeah, that'll be a new one. We new Wyoming coach as well, Sundance Wicks. There's going to be some different you're right. There are some new coaches we got to get familiar with. Joe Scott from Air Force, Tim Miles. I'm recording on Monday, and we'll play that at some point. But this Friday at 10 a.m., Coach Calhoun, Utah State. I got to check my schedule here. So, so that'll be fun. We'll get some summer basketball talking Mountain West in conjunction with Lindy's magazine. And Johnny wants in, man, but my Q&A on the women's side, I do a Q&A every year on the women's side. Gino Ariema, I'll be chatting with him, and I don't know if that's worthy of a BNN interview or not to get Gino Ariema on BNN or why that would matter. For folks in Boise, Idaho, but I am going to be chatting with him as well. I've done Dawn Staley and I did Kim Mulkey the last 2 years, but no, this is a different Calhoun. We're talking. Yeah, no, James, this is.
Somebody's going to get confused over that.
Isn't Calhoun the basketball coach at Utah State? He came, from the East Coast, I believe. He I forget where he was at. He wasn't at James Madison. Where was he? Where was he at?
Was it
so bad? Might have been. I forget.
Was it James? I can't remember.
Calhoun is the basketball coach at Utah State. Troy Calhoun is still the football coach at Air Force. So no, nothing there. And Alexandra, I am heading back to Boise. I've been on vacation for 2 weeks. I'm at my parents' house, and I'm heading back to Boise. By the way, Jay, I've told you my lifelong goal is to write a book. And and if you look right here, this shelf right here is literally all books that my dad has written, and it's pretty cool. Kind of a good. Tony La Russa book by Rob Raines there. That was a rookie wrote about La Russa. He's got all kinds of stuff here. 100th anniversary of the Cardinals that he wrote in 1992, and they were around in 1982. And he's got all kinds of. I wanted to steal this little mini Gold Glove, but he wouldn't let me take it back. I already tried. But Joe, everybody knows Joe Buck. His dad Jack Buck was a legendary broadcaster for the Cardinals. My dad wrote his autobiography as well.
Crazy.
So, 38 books, I believe it is. 38 books he's written. Yeah.
Have you read 38 books?
No, I haven't read one book start to finish. But read Shane Dean's the Hall of Famer on the Cardinals. A lot of them were, biographies of players on the Cardinals and stuff, and different books that he's written. He wrote this one about the 2011, or no, this was a different season actually when they had a player pass away, and he wrote a couple books there. But 38 books. I'm hoping for one someday. Someday. And these are all dude, this would be fun. Just take a different book every time. And unfortunately, I just found this one here. Willie Mays. It's a tough, that was tough news to hear yesterday.
Yeah. Say hey.
I want to actually see if I could borrow this. Maybe I will for the flight back, but all right, sorry. So story time at the Raines family's over. They're all in the car texting me. We got to go. So, Jay, appreciate it. We'll talk to everybody later. Heading back to Boise today. Mike Prater and I at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Go support the sponsors. Put it on social media. Tag BNN. Tag the sponsors. Let them know their advertising's working. Go eat at Taco Bell and Lean Feast and go support all the sponsors. And appreciate everybody. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com.